Hi guys, today I'm going to talk about how to use the E2B editor to make your own menu for Easy2Boot. You can see here I've got a scroll.bmp bitmap which I've copied onto the ISO folder of my Easy2Boot drive J. You can see the picture here. This is saved as a 24-bit color bitmap in Microsoft Paint. You can use a JPEG if you like, but it has to be the non-progressive JPEGs, so don't use one that's been used for the web. You can convert it to an ordinary JPEG using Microsoft Paint, just save as and then save as JPEG. You can see full details on the web page, which is at the configure E2B and then E2B editor, and then you'll see there's all the details there about how to use it. So let's start by running E2B editor, and you'll see it'll prompt you for a config file. Now the config file is the thing that contains all the settings. It's just a text file which you can use in Notepad. If you've got a my-e2b.config file, that is the default, that's the name of the config file which will be used by Easy2Boot as default, so it will always look for my-e2b.config in the _ISO folder. If it's not there, then it'll just default to the standard E2B format. There's also a sample my-e2b.config file, so if you've got a my-e2b.config file, use that. Otherwise, use the sample one. And the sample one contains lots and lots of examples of settings, and they're all commented out, or mostly all commented out, and you can uncomment them, and you can muck about with them in Notepad and see what each one does. So I'll go with the my-e2b.config file, and I'll load that, and you see the next thing it's asking me for is a wallpaper bitmap file. So again, you can use JPEG. If you've used that, you can find a JPEG file. Now the bitmap file must be on the Easy2Boot USB drive so that it gets the right path when you select it. So I've got this scroll.bmp, and I'll just drag that over. So let's explain some of these headings here. So for the heading, we've got /x20, which is used by Grub4DOS as a space symbol, followed by another space, and then the name Easy2Boot. So if we get rid of those spaces, it'll move the text over a bit to the left. So you can use padding to adjust that. So if you put spaces in like here, Easy2Boot will unfortunately ignore the spaces. This is why you have to put the first one as /x20, and then you can put the others in as ordinary spaces. Or alternatively, if you center the heading, so if you use center head, just click on that to set it to 1, and it will now automatically center the heading on the menu. Now, because it's a menu editor, it won't correctly center the heading perfectly for you, so that's mainly due to these variables here which I've used in the heading. So I'll just explain them. So %for% will display the version, the Easy2Boot version number in the heading. So the editor always puts it as 1.66, but it'll be whatever the current version is that you're using. B64 is the 64-bitness and the memory size in megabytes. So it's just an example here: 1234 megabytes, 64-bit. That's just made up by the editor. That'll actually be substituted with whatever it happens to be on your system when you run it. So if you've got a 32-bit CPU, it'll say 32-bit there. %@date will display the current date of your system when you boot it up. You may not want to have these there, so you can simply delete them like that, and you can put your own heading in here. So put Steve's menu in there, and it'll center it within the limits of the menu. So starting from the left hand side of the menu to the right hand side of the menu, it'll center it over there. Okay, now you can see the menu is over to the left, and because we've got our graphics over to on the left here as well, we really want to move the menu over. So you can do this by using the mouse. Just click the left cursor, draw a square, and we want to leave room for the menu help text underneath, so that should just about do. And you can see that we've got 5 lines of help text here, so we've got plenty of room for that. Actually, we could probably have a few more menu entries in there. So you can just alter these numbers here. So the left is 30, which looks to be about right here, so I'll just demonstrate. Put 32, I'm just going to move it over a bit more to the left. 28, and it's cutting that, so we don't really want that. So I'll put it at 30. The heading's right at the top here, so maybe we could just move that down a bit. The width of the menu, I advise you to make that as wide as possible, because you might have long menus, and so you need to fit it in. If the menu's not wide enough, it'll just cut the text off. So just make the menu as wide as you can. The height of the menu is 25, so that'll be 25 items, 0 to 24, so 25 items. We could make this maybe one more. That looks a bit better. And the help text, so this is where the help text is going to start. So you could, if you wanted to, not have it right at the bottom of the menu. So that's 29 for us, so we'll drop it down one lower, but it's usual to have it just below the menu. You can change the colour of the normal menu help text, and you can change the colour of the highlighted menu, so that's the menu that's currently selected. Okay, you get the idea anyway, and we could do the colour as well. The border colour here is the thickness of the border, so if you click on this, we can go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. You can see the borders increasing, or we can have no border at all, which is 0. You may prefer that for some backgrounds. The heading position here is set to 0, but we've centered it, so it'll automatically move it to wherever you want. But if I didn't center it, it would set it to the beginning of the menu, start of the menu, which is the left hand side of the menu. I prefer it to be centered actually for most menus, but it's up to you. And the footer help text is here, so we need to shift this across. So it looks like it's got to be about column 28, and we can have it right at the bottom, so we can have it on line 36. So let's try 3628. Well, it's almost right. 29 maybe. 32. 33. Okay. It's up to you where you want it. You might want it aligned with the yellow text, like that. It's up to you. And then the contents of the help text is here, so you can put in there whatever prompts you want. Percent lag percent, so it's percent hat lang percent, will display the current language that you've selected. So in this case it's selected German because I set it up to be in German at the start. If you don't want it to say the language, just delete that. So you could put anything you like in there. You could put a copyright notice if you like. So I think that covers the basics here. If you've got a small screen, you can shift the picture up to fit better on your screen. This is only for the editor, it doesn't affect the final result. Number will put numbers across here, so might want to help you to edit it. So after you've finished doing that, if you accidentally click on the mouse, by the way, like that, there is an undo button, but it's only one deep, so you can only do one. Oops, you can't undo 2 or 3. So just be careful you don't click the mouse inside this area when you don't mean to. So we need to save this file as a my-e2b.config. So we've got the save config file here. It tells you the name it's going to save to. So if you click no, it will load it up into Notepad. If you click yes, it will save it as my-e2b.config and load it up into Notepad. So here we are. We can see what it's done. And you can see it set the graphics mode to 800. There's our wallpaper, and there's our menu parameters for the position of the menu. There's the colour of the help text, the colour of the normal text, and the colour of the standard text. That's the console colour. If you go into the Grub for DOS console, that'll be the colour you'll see. Now, because I use my-e2b.config, it already had some animation and some templates set. So you can see here it says animate, and it's got a GIF animation. That's the rotating GIF symbol, and we've got a stamp as well here. So I just close that file. So one thing I didn't cover was the options here for language. So let's say it's currently set to German. I'll set it to English, and you can set the keyboard as well. So I've got QWERTY UK, and then this one is for other options. So no progress messages sets the reader variable. I'd advise you, if you're a beginner, not to tick this, because it'll hide some messages from you which you may want to see. It'll suggest things to you like the best settings to use. Next down is the reader P one, which is even more important not to tick that if you want to get help or see messages as Easy2Boot boots. If you really don't want to see any messages whatsoever when Easy2Boot boots, then tick both of these. But if you get into any trouble, you can't load a particular payload file or something, or it doesn't work properly, you'll have to go back in and deselect these to be able to see the messages that Easy2Boot is trying to display. So Easy2Boot will number the menus. So if you set auto num off, it'll remove the numbers from the menu. But numbers are useful because when you boot to the Easy2Boot menu, you can just type 1, 2 for instance, and it'll go to item number 12, or 2, 4, and it'll go to 24. So it's rather handy to have them numbered because you can immediately jump to whatever menu you like. You can of course use the initial letter of the menu as well to jump to, but there may be more than one menu entry beginning with the same letter. ext off, now this will display the extension of the file. So if it's an ISO file, for instance, it'll be listed as the name of the file .iso, and you can see here it's got file name .iso. If I tick this, it'll just have the file name, so the menu entry will actually be the name of the ISO but without the .iso extension. So you probably prefer that in your menu. You can disable the Grub for DOS password. The default is Easy2Boot as the password, which allows you to edit the menu and go into Grub for DOS console, etc. I think the other ones are fairly explanatory. If you want to disable F7, you tick that so you won't see a menu to boot to the hard disk. F8 reload the menu, F9 is reboot, F10 is power off. F1 is the help menu. Press F1, you'll get a help menu. You can make it beep the loudspeaker when it loads the menu if it's very slow to load. No prompt before the CSM menu. So when you load an image partition menu, an image PTN menu, it usually prompts you and warns you and says, I'm going to switch partitions, is it okay? If you tick that, it'll just switch straight to the CSM menu and it won't prompt you. No SUG or no suggestions equals 1. If that's set, it won't suggest you a better file extension. So again, I advise you, if you're a beginner or intermediate, then I would leave that unticked. And then finally there's a no F7 PCI and XX bit when you install entries. So when you go into the Windows install menu, it'll suppress those menu entries from the Windows install menu. So if we save that again, you can just quit that because it's been saved. Now we'll see what it looks like. So I've booted here to an Oracle VirtualBox session off the USB drive, and you can see that it's centered the heading, and we've got the amount of memory that I'm using in the VirtualBox machine, 64-bit CPU. It's put the stamp in there, the Easy2Boot stamp. It's put the animated icon in there. We've got the colours that we asked for here, and there's our help text. So it's up to you whether you want to have the stamp there and the GIF. Maybe you don't. So let's just get rid of that. So we'll click on Save Config File again, and we'll say yes here. And if we scroll down, we'll see where the stamp and animation is set. So let's get rid of the stamp, and we'll keep the animation. So we'll save that. So we've just got the animation here now. And I should just mention that because the rotating GIF was actually inside the menu area over here on the right, I've actually moved it now over to the top left. So you edit the my2b.config file, and you can see that the X and Y position is the last two parameters here. So you need to move this to the top left, so it's 15 and 20 should give you put it in the top left here, and if you want you could move it over a little bit if you want to center it properly.